Are y'all ready to head off the trail? I'm the Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones, and I'm ready to take you on a mysterious journey right now. We welcome you to Off the Trails right here on the Spaced Out Radio's YouTube channel. If you guys haven't hit subscribe yet, please do. We would love to have you. And shout out to Bumblefoot for that awesome intro music. I always appreciate that. You guys please go follow us on all of our social media sites from Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. And you're going to find us at Spaced Out Radio. On Instagram, I believe it's Spaced Out Radio Show. You guys can find me at thecryptidhuntress.com. That's my website. And I also have my own YouTube channel. That's called The Cryptid Huntress, where I have live shows all throughout the week over there and on Saturday nights as well. So you guys come over there and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Also, if you guys would like to become a member of the Space Travelers Club, we have that over on Patreon here at Spaced Out Radio. And we'd love to have you guys become a member of that. Also, gosh, we have the Spaced Out Radio fan party coming up next month. That's in Reno, Nevada. I will definitely be there. I am all booked and I'm ready to go. So we're going to have a live broadcast there. I think that's Friday. And let's see what else. Oh, okay. We're gonna have like a party. I don't know what else gonna happen. I don't know the schedule off the top of my head, but it's gonna be a good time. There's gonna be a lot of really great people there. That's May 10th through the 12th. You guys go to spacedoutradio.com for more information on that. All right. And if you guys would like to see all the events I'm going to be at, go to my website. There, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, I have a list of events and dates and things like that. So you can find me on my website and all my social media links as well as my Patreon information and my shop, Etsy, my Etsy shop, War Woman Goods. Okay. All right, y'all. Well, we have a fantastic, wonderful show tonight. I have my buddy, Robbie Raines, here in the studio tonight. Robbie, you guys probably know him from Machina Podcast. He has his own podcast called What's Really Out There. And he's a friend of the show. He's been here before. And so we're going to be talking about a lot of cool Bigfoot Dogman stuff tonight. And don't forget that right after this show, Rob G has a really great show set up for us. I believe Bigfoot Michigan Rob is going to be his guest tonight. So you guys head on over there right after our show tonight. Okay, well, how about let's get to our guest tonight. Robby Raines is a police officer who had his first Bigfoot experience as a child. He's an active field researcher, investigator, and tracker. Robbie hosts the podcast What's Really Out There and co-hosts Ex Machina Podcast. Please help me welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight, Robby Raines. Hey, Robbie.
Hey, Jess.
Well, thank you for being here tonight.
Well, thank you for having me. I always enjoy coming and hanging out with you.
Oh, well, thank you. Hey, I just enjoy hanging out with you too. And I just got to hang out with you in person about a month ago over at the Georgia Bigfoot conference. Yeah, we did. Oh my gosh, you came to the Georgia Bigfoot conference up in North Georgia, and we're practically neighbors because you're over in South Carolina. I'm in Georgia. Well, we're actually a long way away from each other, but practically neighbors on an international sense. And so you came out. This is the second year in a row that we met up at that conference and we went Bigfooting together. Yep. And did it disappoint you this year?
Nope, it sure didn't.
No, never.
It was a tad different this time than it was last time, though. I think we both got a really different feeling this time than what we had last time.
We did. Okay, well, if the audience is interested, I think the audience is probably a little interested in what we're talking about, because for people who are just tuning in for the first time here at Spaced Out Radio, I am actually a Bigfoot field researcher, and so is Robbie, and so I get out in the woods a lot. I've been doing this for a long time, and so is Robbie. Robbie's actually a police officer, y'all. Okay, Robbie. Wow, there's a lot of guys and women too in the Bigfoot community that are in law enforcement. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, either current or former. DA's former, Martin Groves is former, me, Daryl Denton's a former, Dennis Carroll's former law enforcement, just to name a few. And there's plenty more, but just right off the top of my head, that's 5 or 6 right there. That So yeah, and I think a lot of that is, at least for me, and I know for DA, because we've talked about it, it's that carrying on the investigation and looking and tying clues in and things like that. That is what leads us to it sometimes, and it's what we do. So it's that analytical thinking. I think that kind of helps with that.
I think so too. Because we have a lot of law enforcement and military background people on my teams as well. So I honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it's actually, it feels more safe when you're out in the field with people who have a background in some sort of law enforcement and like weapons training and all that kind of stuff. Just in case stuff goes down, man, you're on the ready, and I know that. And so that was comforting to know, because we actually had my son with us this year. Out in the field, and so that was interesting. But yeah, so when we went out there last year, this is one of the areas where I like to go Bigfooting, and so I took you up to one of the spots that I like to go to, and it never disappoints. We usually have Bigfoot activity going on up there, and we had potentially a Bigfoot encounter while we were up there. Do you want to tell the audience about that? And I'll chime in too.
So, kind of set the stage a little bit. Last year when we went up there, we got out, crickets, everything. It was like I like to tell people, it was like being at a 130 decibel concert. We were, you and I were talking. We were probably about 2 feet apart, and we were almost having to yell so we could hear each other. And then all of a sudden, it was like somebody unplugged the jukebox, and it was like stepping into a vacuum. It just went completely quiet. Okay, so that's how the encounter went the year before. I don't think anything was there, and it came up on us. Well, this year we pull up, we step out of the car, and it was like stepping out into that vacuum immediately. No insects, no nothing. It's just dead quiet. I hate to use that word, but that's pretty much how it was. So we start walking back up the hill, and I think we got pretty close to where you and I had stopped the year before. I mean, obviously, we didn't have a GPS marker on it. It felt like it was about right where we stopped, and we were talking just from the lay of the land, the way things look. We were pretty close.
Yeah.
And speaking for myself, I don't know what you felt or what you were seeing. I always like to try to give myself a little bit of time and just stare at one specific spot, especially when you're out there in the dark, to give your eyes time to adjust. Because we'd been in the car, there was ambient light from the radio. We were talking, so you've got that ambient noise in your ears. I just like to sit there and look and try to get myself acclimated. So for the first 10 minutes, we were standing there and we were talking, but I was staring at like one specific spot. And I kept thinking that I was seeing movement, but in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, well, it's my eyes adjusting. I'm seeing, this is what it is. Well, after 10 minutes, it hadn't gone away. And I think that's when I mentioned it to you that I think I'm seeing movement up ahead of us. So you started looking, I think, and at some point you started seeing movement. Then Ben started seeing movement. We all started seeing movement.
Yeah.
And then I think the question was broached, should we move a little bit further up on the hill? And at that point, I was just, as DA likes to say, that lizard brain was screaming at me, nah, you don't need to go up on top of that hill. So that's why I turned and looked at you. I said, I think we need to stay right here where we're at. And I think you were picking up on something too, because about 5-ish minutes later, you were like, I think it's time for us to go. And it just, that feeling, and we both had that feeling at the exact same time. So
we did. Well, and the fact that we had my kid with us, which is something that I don't normally have with me. Okay. At places like that where we do the actual research and stuff, sometimes this is one of the areas, but I felt safe enough to take him out there just for a little while that night with you with us, especially too. And so I did not want to chance anything. I wasn't trying to stick around because I felt like we were, last year, we got surrounded by what I believe were Bigfoots, at least 3 of them or more. I'm sure there were more, but that's the ones we could tell.
Yeah.
And this year, I wasn't really getting a Bigfoot vibe as much as I did last year. It felt different. it felt different. It didn't feel comfortable at all. But there was definitely something there. My son was picking up on it too. We were actually seeing it in the tree line. Shapes and things that were moving. There were bodies there. There was something there, and it didn't feel natural at all.
I don't know that I've after it was talking with DA and Doc and all them and talking through this. I came up with what best describes this. I don't know if I've even told you or bounced this idea off you yet, but anyway, as we both come to that conclusion at the same time, it's time to leave. You took off. You told Ben, "Hey, stay right in between me and Robbie," and I kind of was bringing up the rear.
Right.
And I backed up the first 5-6 feet, and as I turned back around and was watching you and Ben, as soon as my back was to that area, every hair on the back of my neck just shot up. I turned back around, and when I turned back around, what I saw, I don't know because it was so dark. But it looked like 3 or 4 different shadows just doing like this coming towards us. And this is the part that I've talked to DA talked through and talking through it with them. I've come up. If anybody's seen that movie Underworld, the very first one, when Kate Beckinsale's in the hallway and those lichens are jumping across the floor and the ceiling and the walls, the way they were moving, that's the best way I can describe how those things were moving towards us. I'm not saying that's what it was. I'm just saying the way those shadows were moving. But as soon as I turned back around and saw them, they stopped. So that's why when I turned over my shoulder and told you go straight to the car, crank the car, let's go.
Yeah.
So the rest of the way down, I just pretty much backed the rest of the way down that hill because I don't know what it was, but I didn't get Bigfoot vibes. We were getting hunted vibes.
Yeah, I was feeling like there was something. It was something different. Okay, and this is the area that I go to often. Okay, and I know the vibe there. Maybe it was because I keep reiterating this. I think it was because my son was there. Okay, we had a kid. We never have children out there. Okay, ever.
It may very well have been that, and that caused a different feeling. It was a complete and total different feeling than it was the year before.
Yeah, for sure. And so, of course, my son said that he was picking up on rake or skinwalkers. Is what he said. But honestly, I'm not exactly sure what it is because we do have like ET activity up there and we have Bigfoot, and that's basically the extent. But you can't just limit it to that when you're out doing the research in the field because anything is possible, especially if there are natural portals in the area or whatever. It's just an area. The mountains, the Appalachian Mountains, are full of high strangeness, and you never know what you're going to encounter out there. So it's better safe than sorry. And especially the fact that we had a child with us, a kid. He's not a little kid, but he's still a kid. And so there was no playing around that night. We got out of there pretty much immediately.
And
yeah,
that was just like when we left out there the year before. I mean I felt like we were being watched, but I never from the time that started till the time we got there, I never felt worried. I never felt like we were in, but I felt worried the entire time until we got back on that main road this time. And it just, I don't know. There's only one other time that I felt like that.
When was that?
After that. It was in the LBL. It was in the LBL last weekend.
The LBL. Tell the audience what the LBL is. I know we talk about it a good bit, and I did have a show on where we talked about the LBL last night on my channel, and I've got Cryptoville in the chat tonight. Hey, Mark, and he told his encounter of seeing a dog man. We'll get into we'll talk about that a little bit actually, but tell the audience what the LBL is and about your experience.
The LBL is the land between the lakes. It used to be the land between the rivers. It's pretty much one of those man-made lakes that the U.S. government bought from everybody, but didn't really buy. They just, forced people out. Some people didn't leave. They flooded the valley. There's a lot of bad mojo in that place. I mean, that I have never been in a place that was just. And Johnny used the term that was just it was so perfect for that. He called it unhealthy because there was just an unhealthy feeling. We went into Demumbers Bay the first day we were there, and I took a video, and I've showed my dad, showed my mom, I've showed other people. It's just middle of the day, and Johnny's like, "There's no ducks." There was one little small bird that we heard right close to us, and one crow that was like miles away, and you could barely hear it. But it was just so dead quiet. There I go using that word again, but that's what it
Dead.
was. It was. It just. I can't describe how that place makes you feel. I mean, if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't been there, there's no way to describe how this place makes you feel. And so Johnny, my co-host, and I, it was supposed to be everybody, me and Johnny from What's Really Out There, and me, DA, and Doc, and Steve from DAX Machina. We were supposed to go out there and do a big field investigation. Greg Ogles was going to meet us down there, but things happened. Doc ended up having a couple classes he had to teach. DA's son's wedding is in June, and they had some kind of dinner they had to go to that weekend. Steve ended up having to work. It just didn't work out. And me and Johnny were the only two that were able. Well, my daughter Taylor and her boyfriend Tyler ended up being able to come down there too. But luckily we didn't know it. But Woodwalkers had their big meet and greet down there that weekend, so there was a lot of people. Coombo Baker was down there. Martin Groves was down there. Naomi Finn came. It was Cam Buckner was there. It was a pretty good. But everybody was camping over on the sunny side of LBL, the side that, once you cross under that bridge past the Bison and Elk Prairie, everything changes. You get back up on that north side, there's a bridge underpass just past that. Once you go under that underpass and get over here where all that place is, it's a nice, beautiful place. But you go back past that Bison Elk Range and start going towards Demumbers Bay and Bethel Cemetery and all that, that's when it starts getting really creepy.
Ooh.
And
that's what I've heard. I've heard it.
Go into the
yeah, go tell. Okay, so tell us what happened after you got there when it got really weird. Because I know you were out there doing a little research, and now was this your first time at the LBL?
Yes, this was mine, Johnny, both first time, and Taylor and Tyler too. We'd never been there before. It's kind of a bucket list thing. I always wanted to go because that story from '82 where the family got slaughtered. That's been one of my all-time favorite cryptid stories. Just because it's werewolves were always my favorite monster growing up. So that's just kind of my thing. So, Johnny and I got there we left Wednesday morning from here. It took us about 7.5, 8 hours to get there. So we went and checked in and then went back to the LBL. We went in on the north side and we went straight to Demumbers Bay, drove around for a little while. Long story short, nothing. I mean, other than being creepy and finding some fish skeletons all over the bank of the lake, which was weird. Not a whole lot. So we were waiting, pretty much just kind of goofed off the next 2 days, waiting for Taylor and Tyler to get there. Well, when they got there Friday, we drove out to meet up with Greg, met up with him, and he was like, "Well, do you want to go see some orbs, or do you want to go Bigfoot, or what do you want to do?" I said, "Well, I've never seen orbs, so take me to show me some orbs."
Wait, so can I ask a question? So is there like designated areas for different types of paranormal activity there?
No, I don't. I think it's more like every time he's been in this one specific spot, he's always saw, or kind of like what you the spot you take me to, you've always seen certain activity in that spot. So if you want to take somebody to a hot spot, it's the same thing.
I gotcha. So I like it.
He was like, he said he had Bigfoot activity there, but a lot of times he gets orbs there. So we went to this spot and we first pull up. Kind of the same thing with what I said did I do when I was up there with you. I kind of wanted to get off away from everybody and just let my eyes adjust because Greg almost immediately started seeing stuff, and I wasn't sure if I was seeing anything. Johnny said he was seeing them, and I was like, I'm not sure. So I looked at Greg. I said, "Hey, would it be stupid of me to walk about 75 yards that way?" You know me, Jessica. I don't, yeah, but you know me, I don't think about stuff like that. So he's like, "Yeah, you should be fine." So I walked on about 75 yards away from them, just so I could just see and not have any. I was way away from the roads. I didn't have to worry about any light pollution from a car coming by or anything like that. And I was seeing things, but I wasn't sure what I was seeing. But I was listening to Johnny and Greg behind me, and Greg would be like, "Oh, look at that green one! It just went straight up in the air." And I saw something that looked like a green light go up straight in there. And then Johnny would be like, "Oh, well, there's an orange one that went off to the right." And I was seeing that, so I was like, "Okay, well, I'm seeing what they're describing, and I'm not vocalizing it, so it's not like they're, we're all feeding off each other." But the whole time that I'm watching this, I'm hearing something off to my right walking in the woods. So I'm like, so about 20 minutes of that, 15, 20 minutes, I walked back over to Greg and I said, "There's something over in the woods." We stopped and listened, and he heard a couple of twigs snapping. He said, "Yeah, right over that way." I'm like, "Yep, right over to our right." So we sat there for a little bit more. Tyler was behind us. He was doing the filming for Greg, my daughter's boyfriend, and went on for a little while. I don't know if he got any of the orbs on there because Greg hadn't got a chance to look at the film the last time I talked to him. And that kind of started dying down a little bit. We were still hearing things walking around, but Greg said, "Well, I think the orbs have died down. Let's go ahead and turn the camera off so we don't waste the battery," because we were going to go to another place that night. So turned it off, put the camera in the car. Taylor had gotten in the car because it was pretty cold out there that night. So she was sitting in the car with the camera, and Greg and Johnny were standing about 10 feet away from me and Tyler, and I'd had the parabolic mic on, and I was listening, and Johnny got my attention and said he was going to do some owl calls. Well, Johnny had kind of looked at what was indigenous to the area, and he was doing some calls that weren't indigenous. So I got the mic on. I hear Johnny give an owl call, and something answered him, mimicked him perfectly. Pitch, tone, everything. I'm like, and I had to hear the microphone on, so I said, I got their attention. I said, "Did you hear that?" They're like, "Yeah, we heard it." So he did it again. He got answered again. He did it the third time, and the third time the answer was not a mimic exactly. It was just like if somebody pushed a play button and it said who, really deep, no inflection, no tone, but just real deep. Sound like one of them 500-pound owls if you've heard people talk about. And then
I've heard those.
Split second after that, we hear 3 knocks or tongue clicks or whatever it was. Well, at this point, I'm already back up there with Greg and Johnny, and I turn and I kind of smack Greg in the chest. I said, "Did you hear that?" Because I had the ears on. He goes, "Yes, I heard it. Calm down." So we're kind of listening to that. Well, while the three of us are kind of excited about that, Tyler starts walking back over towards the car. He hears something, and we're right next to the cemetery. He hears something in the woods behind the cemetery. So he comes back and gets my attention. Okay, well, that puts me out of researcher mode, puts me in dad mode because Taylor's in the car. Tyler's in boyfriend mode because his girlfriend's in the car. So me and him are more interested in, okay, what's going on, because my baby's in this car. I'm going to make sure nothing hurts my baby. And Tyler's, my baby's in this car. I'm going to make sure nothing hurts my baby. So we kind of move up on, like the car's like right here. We move up on the grass right next to the cemetery right beside it. Well, as soon as we move up, we hear something big about 15, 20 feet away from us. But the hill kind of sloped down. And I got Greg and Johnny's attention, told him I was getting ready to turn my headlamp on. And they were kind of standing back off up behind us. Well, as soon as I turned the headlamp on, Johnny said he saw something. And the way he said it was, "What's up, William? How you doing, brother?" He said, the way he described it, he said it stepped out of frame because it was all he saw was a shadow that was right at the periphery of that where my beam was shining. It just kind of faded back into the shadows. But my focus was down in front of where me and Tyler was. Well, as soon as my light come on, Jessica, I looked, and it was green eye shine about 25 feet away from us. Now, right then, it looked like it was about 2 or 3 inches off the ground. So right off the bat, I'm thinking, okay, what small animal has green eye shine? I'm running all this through my head, and I'm like, there's, it looked like when you shine a flashlight on a dog's eyes. That's what it looked like.
Mm-hmm.
But we're up there making noise. Tyler, it spooked Tyler. And I mean, he's a big boy. He's hard to spook. And he was like, I just want it known that we're armed just in case it was somebody down there messing with us. Don't screw around because you get shot.
You got to be crazy to try to trick somebody out in the woods in a forest like that, because a lot of people do carry firearms, and dressing up in a costume or trying to scare somebody, especially in a place like the Land Between the Lakes or any kind of national forest, is a really stupid thing to do. Okay, really stupid. You may not make it out of there.
We wanted to make sure that we gave those warnings. So Tyler gave that warning 3 separate times that I can remember anyway. He may have done more, but I know he did it at least 3 times. Well, Johnny had worked his way. He don't see it, so I grabbed a hold of him and pulled him in front of me. So he's looking at it. Johnny's in front of me. I'm standing here. Tyler's standing up over my shoulder, and Greg's standing behind, or kind of beside, off the side of Tyler. We all 3 see it. Okay. And it never moved. This went for like 5 minutes of us just staring at this thing, and you could see it moving, and every once in a while you could tell it blinked, but there was a tree there, so I think we were only seeing one eye. The way it was, and all of a sudden it just kind of moved behind that tree and didn't come back out, but it wasn't moving. When we hear something up behind us, we all kind of turn up this way and look. Well, as soon as we turned, it took off further down in the woods. So we was like, okay, it's probably time to go on. And it was probably close to midnight at this point. Well, that kind of freaked Tyler out, and Taylor was so we're just we'll go back to the hotel because they were both tired. They had drove in that day, and they just got there when we took off to come up there. So we're like, all right, we'll go back out tomorrow night. So next day after we eat lunch, we're getting ready to go back over and meet Greg again. Johnny said, well, let's go back over there during the day and take a look and see what, take some pictures and see what it looks like during the day. We're like, cool, let's go. Well, as soon as we get over there and step out, there was something really apparent to me and Tyler. Tyler went right back to where he was standing. He was standing on this big rock. So, and when he stood on that rock, he was right behind me. So I knew that I was looking straight in the line that I was looking at. Well, the tree that I was looking at was probably about 20 feet away down a hill. I walked down the hill, turned around and got behind that tree and was looking back up at Tyler. I hunched. I'm 5'8", 5'9", somewhere around in there. I hunched down, and Tyler said, "Right there." Jessica, my head was still about 3 feet off the ground. So that 2 or 3 inches that we thought was 2 or 3 feet off the ground. Now, there was a draw that came down this way and a draw that came down this way, and it was standing in this first draw here, and the land right behind it went straight back up. So I had to have been standing exactly where it was. Now, the leaf litter was really thick. You could see where something went through, but there's no way you're going to get any kind of print or anything off of it like that. But these 2 draws funneled into a third one, and it went right straight down in the woods where we heard it run off to. So, all that being said, we go back and we're talking to Martin, and yeah,
you got more sense than to go without a weapon. I mean, most people who are seasoned researchers and people that go out in the woods a lot, especially hunters, we've all got something to protect us. I mean, Robbie's got stuff to protect him right there in front of him tonight. I'm pretty sure with your collection of knives.
Yeah, I had most of those with me, but I had my pistol. I wasn't sure about long guns, so I didn't have my SOCOM, which I don't know if I'll ever go back over there unless I've got my long rifle with me without my SOCOM, because that's kind of, I knew that was you, Rodney. But ain't no too many RDGs in the world that I know. But so anyway, I had to be standing right where this thing was, and it had to be a lot bigger than what we thought. Hey, Scott, than what we thought it was that night. So we go back over. I'm talking to Martin Groves, and I'm telling him my story because Martin knows a lot about that area. He's been in that area a lot. So I'm telling him. He goes, "Wait a minute." He said, "When you came in, he said, you passed the Mumbers Bay, and the visitor center was on your left, right?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "As soon as you passed that visitor center, you turned off to the right, went up a hill, a little cemetery on your left, and there was a dirt road right to the right of it, right? I said, yep. He said, big red gate. He said, sometimes it's locked, sometimes it's not. I said, yeah. He said, about 100 yards past that gate, there's a tree across the road. I'm like, dang, yeah. He knows exactly where we were.
Just
was
a tree.
Yeah. But it was a big tree. So, I mean, but he knew exactly where we were at. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly where we're at, Martin. He goes, yeah. He said, you're about 100, 150 yards from that original kill site from 1982. I said, really? So,
wow.
Theoretically, we could have been getting stalked by whatever it was that killed those. I think whatever it was trying to separate one or two of us from the group.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So for people who aren't familiar with the massacre that happened, it's alleged, but I believe it happened. I've actually, it was one of my remote viewing targets a long time ago. And I do believe it did happen. I think there were 4 people, a mom, a dad, and 2 kids that were mauled to death by potential dogmen out there. Either a dogman or 2, at least I think there were 2 of them. Okay, but that's called the Beast of the Land Between the Lakes, or the Beast of the LBL now. And so you were right there by that. What people call it sounds horrible, but it's called the kill site, I think is what people call it out there. But there have been multiple deaths reported there, lots of missing people. Of course, I had Cryptidville, Mark Maycheck, on my show last night on my channel, and he's a seasoned researcher out there, and he confirms there are a lot of people that go missing out there. And we got the other element of, we got William Nighthawk in the chat. Hey, William and Eric, they have a great podcast too called Nighthawk High Strangeness Podcast. You guys go check them out. And William was telling us yesterday on his show about the curses at the Land Between the Lakes. We were talking about the connection between the dogmen and the indigenous people. And how the dogmen have been called there to protect the land and protect like the cemeteries there. And some of the cemeteries there at the Land Between the Lake have been desecrated, and some of the bodies had been removed and moved. And so it makes for a really, first of all, the land's is cursed. There have been multiple curses put on that land, and that may be the why there's a result of so many missing people, so many deaths. I don't know. It's a food for thought there.
There's definitely something around there. I mean, people can say whatever they want to say, but I know what and how I felt that night. And for something to rattle me like that, that's doing something. And not for nothing, it's when you get 4 or 5 things, and you've been in this situation, when you get 4 or 5 things walking around you in the woods, and there's nobody else around, other than your group there, and you're hearing these things strategically make their noises and do the things they're doing, it puts things into perspective about how smart whatever these things are. And honestly, and I even told you this, Jessica, it's a wonder that when I first saw that eye shine, it's one. If I'd have had my SOCOM with me, I'd took off down that hill after it. The only thing that stopped me from going down there was, 1, my daughter was sitting in the truck or in the Jeep, and 2, I didn't have my SOCOM. If I'd have had that, I probably would have took off down. You know me, I'm stupid. I act
stupid.
before I think. I act before I think. And I probably would have took off down that hill after it, and I probably would have regretted it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You're here to tell about it today, so everything worked out just fine. You survived. Yep. Which is good. Yeah. But still, I would not go anywhere. I wouldn't go anywhere unarmed, first of all. I don't even go to the grocery store unarmed.
Oh,
that's just me.
I don't go to the mailbox unarmed.
I know, right? Some of us are just like that, especially those of us living down here in the South. That's how we roll, okay? And I don't usually announce that, okay? But it is what it is. I mean, I was Bigfooting today. I was out in the woods all day today, and I always have something to protect myself and my family with me at all times. Because like I said, you never know what's going to hop out at you. And it's not just cryptids. I'm not even worried about the cryptids. I'm worried about people, especially being a woman and having a kid, with me and stuff. You gotta do what you gotta do. And there's bobcats or cougars too. So we got to worry about that. But yeah. Okay. So the LBL did not disappoint then. Okay.
No.
So it was exciting. It was scary. We hear a lot of stories about, like I said, people going missing, but it's not a place to mess around with, especially if the energies are so kind of off kilter there. Well, it seems like it sounds off kilter.
Supposedly, we were doing the Ex Machina live from the LBL. But while we were doing it, supposedly some people went missing. We had to end up leaving the show early, Johnny and I, because we were supposed to go help try to find them, and we got to end up getting called off halfway to wherever we were going. But the story that we were told, that Naomi was told, that she relayed to us, was that there was a group somewhere on the Devil's Backbone or Devil's Elbow. I know both of them are in there, but I can't remember which one. It was one of those. Were getting paced by something as they were coming out. Well, while they kind of come out a little bit quicker than they probably should have, and they lost one or two or three of their the people was in there with them, and they got lost. They didn't know where they were at, so we had to take off to try to go help find them. But
oh man, you don't want to end up being another statistic. Okay, don't ever wander off. Like you're talking about how you wandered off from the crowd, but I'm like, don't ever wander off from your crew ever. Always let somebody know where you're going.
Let me clarify that. It wasn't like they knew where I was going, and they were standing behind me watching me. So it wasn't like I went off in the woods. I walked in a straight line. When I look back, I could still see them. They could still see me. So it wasn't like I just went wandering in the woods. So just to clarify that, I may be kind of reckless at times, lots of times, but somebody always knows which way I'm at, because DA and Noah had to do the same thing with me when I went to Joe Bald. I just tend to, I get into tracking mode or get into that. I just tend to I don't think about stuff, and I just get into that. So, but somebody's usually always my handler. Noah was okay. Come on.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, so you are a seasoned tracker, and so I think that being a tracker and knowing tracking skills is one of the most important skills that you have to have if you're going to become a cryptid field researcher. You have to. You have to know this stuff. And if someone were to go missing, the first person I would call, there are two people I would call: a tracker and a remote viewer, immediately. And thank goodness my entire team are all trackers and remote viewers. So I call them immediately if something were to happen, or if I were to go missing or something happened to me. I would have my family or whoever, my friends, they would know exactly who to contact, because this is serious. This is serious business. And trackers can pretty much hunt down anything, animals and humans and cryptids. So if something were to happen, if somebody went missing, you're going to be one of the more valuable people out there to go find, to help find those people. Actually,
and time is, a lot. And there were some people that were kind of in that night. They didn't understand why we didn't just jump up right at the second that we heard about it. Well, timing is crucial as far as finding somebody, but it's also crucial in getting all the information, because if you go off half cocked and you don't have all the information, you don't have who you're looking for, what they're wearing, where they're supposedly were at, if you don't have all that stuff and you just go right off in the woods, guess what? You're probably going to be part of the problem, because they're going to be having to look for you too. So, make sure that if you want to help. Don't be part of the problem. Be part of the solution in situations like that. Don't run off half cocked is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, and that's where all the different skills come in handy too. It's like situational awareness. Okay. Well, I was going to get into camo tonight too. Because we do like camouflage awareness stuff with my teams, but survivalist training and all that, just having basic awareness of being outdoors and safety measures, okay, and even medical training and stuff.
Yeah.
And I know you know that, Robbie. I know you know.
You know, situational awareness is something that I think has really gone by the wayside lately. People, you know, a lot of times people don't even know what that is. You know, and you can take it to the extreme and say, okay, when I go into a plane, I know exactly how many rows it is from where I sit to the door. But, you know, that may save your life someday.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that plane's upside down and in the water, and you know how many rows you got to go back for the door, that could save your life.
Yeah.
But the thing is, doing something and acting are the main things. Just sitting back and not doing anything, that's what gets people hurt and killed. Or, you know, oh, I can't do that. But do it the right way. Just like you said, you know, take a class. I mean, there's plenty of online classes you can take, because you never know, the life you save might be yours. You know,
yeah.
I mean, and
that's right. Or one of your friends or kid, or, you know, your teammates. For sure. I mean, this is just everyday skills. I mean, I got to tell you, all the skills that I've learned through my Bigfoot field research teams, all of those skills that we learned, and we all taught each other our own skill sets and stuff. So we are like the A team out there. But I use those skills in everyday life. Okay. So it's so valuable. I just absolutely love it. And yeah, just for situational awareness is so key right now in everyday life. Gosh, we are living in crazy times right now.
Oh, no.
Okay. Crazy times.
And,
yeah,
you know, you don't have to go through the types of training that like you and I have gone through as far as tracking. There's plenty of classes. I mean, there's even books you can read. I mean, you can get books from that will walk you through. There's YouTube video. There's YouTube video on anything. There's probably a YouTube video teach you how to be a brain surgeon if you want to know the honest truth about it. But
no, don't do that.
Yeah,
don't do brain surgery, y'all. Please, we're not saying do that.
Yeah, I'm not advocating that. I'm just saying there probably is somebody out there that's thought about putting that video out there. But there's videos out there. Like right before I went to my class, I found and I can't remember the name of it, but they were South African trackers, and a lot of the stuff that I saw in those videos already kind of prepared me for the stuff that I saw in my class. So there's stuff out there that you can find to watch that will help you learn how to do this stuff. And, you know, I'm going to be at I don't know if they've actually got the conference name, but there's going to be a conference, I believe, in either September, October in Ohio. I'm actually going to be teaching some tracking classes up there. So
I saw that. You know, I actually pulled this comment back up because I saw Auntie Venom had put this up a while ago, and I had to come back to this because we're talking about you can pretty much find anything online, and it's just simple stuff. And she's bringing up the idea, and what we use sometimes are tracking sticks when we're out there doing tracking training. And if you're looking to try to track a cryptid or a person or an animal. She says, I don't know if anyone uses a tracking stick, but Dollar Tree sells a sewing kit with a paper tape measure that can be attached to a tracking stick and varnish over to cut down on a piece of gear. Like, I love these homemade, you know, tracking sticks. I mean, you can do this for that's $1.25. Okay. You get you a little sewing kit and just get a stick or a walking stick. At the Dollar Tree, okay, at the dollar store or whatever. Yeah. This stuff survival gear does not have to be expensive. You know, and I actually was talking about how I love going to our local salvage store. We have like a salvage store. And half the time you go in there, if you touch anything, your hands will be black because it's got soot on it. You know, like they buy stuff that from like fire, like businesses that call on fire and stuff. But everything is, you know, is get it out of the packaging. It's fine. But that's the place to go get camping gear. Uh-oh. I think I just had a glitch there somehow. But yeah, it's a great place to go get survival gear and stuff for cheap, you know, I mean, a fraction of the price. And so just to have stuff put away, you know, just to have things for an emergency, battery powered fans, you know, camping showers, stuff like that. So it's just a thought. So thank you, Auntie Venom. I appreciate that. And so, yeah, you guys think about it. Go to the Dollar Tree and get you some survival gear. Make some survival. You got to kind of MacGyver things together sometimes, though, right?
And that's the thing. People always talk about, well, what should I put in the go bag? What do you need? You put your go bag should be tailored to what you need and what. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously there are certain things in there that need to be in it. If you can get a live straw, or chlorine tablets, fire starting stuff,
blood clots.
Blood,
those blood clotting things. Yeah.
Basic medical supply. Those things need to be in every go bag. But as far as everything else, that's really it's really up to you and what you're like me with going to the woods and doing all this stuff. I've got tape measures, I've got plastic bags and stuff for collecting. I've got a little set of tweezers to pick stuff up so I don't contaminate any of the evidence. But I've got extra ammo. I've got all my survival stuff. I've got everything that if something happens and I get stuck, I've got everything I need to survive. But I've also got everything I need if I run across a print or some evidence or something like that. I've got stuff to take care of that too. So I mean, you need to. But if you're out hunting, you're just as a hunter, you probably don't need some of that other stuff. So you could go get away with a smaller bag. It depends on what you're doing and what you need it for.
Oh my God, Robbie, do you know how many bags I have? Like I have so many. I joke around with my kid all the time because we have like so many to go. I've got so, I know, it's ridiculous. I have so many bags full and it's like, I just pile them all in the truck every time I go somewhere, just because I just don't know if I'm going to have a traumatic injury. So I need this bag, or in case we have like small stuff that happens and then we need our hammock setups, and just in case the car breaks down, we got to have this. I mean, it's, yeah, I have bags for everything, but
you are a very prepared person, but the thing is, you don't have to have every single thing that you or I have,
right?
But you need to have something, Well,
I have to have stuff for a child too, and a dog. So I carry my dog and my German Shepherd everywhere I go. Okay, so we have to think about this stuff because we have to prepare. And I'm also a woman, so I need girl stuff. You know what I mean? And like, I gotta have some, lip gloss and stuff too in there. I gotta pack that stuff. That's got its own bag. Okay, just kidding. But yeah, it's a good idea for everybody to have this, even if you're not out there hunting for Bigfoot. Okay, to have a survival bag of some kind. Yeah. Man, what a great this conversation has gotten kind of spicy tonight. I like it. Not just Dogman and Bigfoot stuff, but survivalist things and just stuff that we and Cryptoville says we need war paint. Yes, that's my war paint actually. Yeah, if you guys missed that show last night over on my channel, Cryptoville came on the channel and we talked about his encounter with the Dogman at the LBL where you were, and it was wearing war paint. Okay, it looked like war paint. It had we talk about adaptive camouflage or some sort of camouflage awareness classes and training that we do with my teams. He said that what he saw, he thought he was looking at a deer, Robbie, and the deer, it actually wasn't a deer. It looked like a coyote or like a coyote type dogman, and it had like white paint down its chin and on its face, like it took its hands and did like this, trying to look like a deer.
Well, I think they were trying to separate us. I mean, why not?
Yeah,
it would surprise me.
Oh man, well, they're smart little suckers out there, aren't they? Yeah. Smart and could be deadly, but I mean, no. Out of the whole weekend, you guys had there were a lot of people out there at the LBL, and nobody got hurt that I've heard of, right? Nobody went missing. Nobody went missing permanently or anything, so that's good. Okay, that's good.
Nobody from our group, because whoever that person was, they weren't from our group. So nobody from our group. Everybody from our group was accounted for, and
that's good. Okay, well, good. Well, that's good. I know And going back to what William Nighthawk was telling us yesterday during his show, and I did put a link to William's show on there, you guys. If y'all want to go to Nighthawk High Strangeness, and Eric was also in the chat. He just said good night. So good night, Eric. He's on that podcast with William, and so I put a link to that in the chat tonight. But he talks about the LBL being cursed by the indigenous people. And he said it's like a matter of either curses or blessings. And I know some people in the chat did watch the show because you guys were kind of putting that out there in the chat. It's kind of relative, or it can be looked at either way, as either a blessing or a curse, because those lands to the indigenous people need to be protected at no matter what the cost, by any means necessary, those lands. And so some of the cryptids out there, what we consider to be cryptids, elementals, dogmen, reptilians, Bigfoot, whatever's out there, they've been asked to be there. They've been summoned there. They've been put there to protect that land by any means necessary, because that's sacred land. And so that's why a lot of people are having activity out there.
One of the, I can't remember, William, if he's still in the chat, I'm sure he can tell which one it is, but one of the First Nation tribes' name for LBL translates into cursed land. I've heard DA say that many times. I just don't remember which one, so I don't want to speak on, but that would be pretty apropos.
Yeah. Oh, and so, but what's really cool is I was able to make those connections after William said that, because we always hear about dogmen protecting Indian burial mounds, or digging into Indian burial mounds, or just being in cemeteries and being around cemeteries. Well, that makes more sense now as to why. I mean, it's like a light went off over my head yesterday. It's like, okay, well, they've been summoned there to protect that land because that's sacred. And so they're there to protect it and to keep folks like us out of there. Okay.
And Amber brought it up. We found that out on the show that night. The LBL looks like it has 3 ley lines that converge into it. We brought up the map, and so that was kind of a moment, because Johnny asked the question. He said, "DA, has anybody ever checked to see how the ley lines run across here?" And DA said, "No, I hadn't." So he pulled it up, and sure enough, it looks like 3 lines converge on the LBL.
Man, I absolutely 100% believe it, for sure, because that's usually where the ley lines intersect. It's almost like the dimensions kind of overlap, and therefore we're getting a whole lot more activity. We're able to see the activity, experience it, and unfortunately, there can be kind of a wonky energy there, a bad energy at the LBL, and it probably stems from the attacks that have happened and the missing people there.
I told you, Johnny's word that he kept using was unhealthy. He said it just feels unhealthy, and he's right. I mean, when we drove in there that day, we both kind of drove in. We just kind of looked at each other like, "You feel that?" I'm like, yeah. It's just like like the air deflating out of a balloon or whatever. It's just like,
Oh my gosh. So basically the LBL has a spiritually transmitted disease. I'm just kidding. I don't know where that just came from. Yeah, something it's more like on an energetic and spiritual level too out there, but there's also the 3D3-dimensional stuff going on out there. So I'm just glad you made it out and you got to have your experience out there. You can mark it off your bucket list, and I hope I'll make it up there too. I'm actually thinking about heading up there at some point too in the next year. So
I'm going back again.
We'll see. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's Audacious Amber has a great comment. When blood is spilled, the earth is never. That's never a good thing, right? That's true, and that's why there's a lot of weird energy going on up there at that place. Oh my gosh, we've already run out of time, Robbie. This show went by so fast.
I know.
We can 100% talk for at least another hour tonight, I'm sure. But but please tell them. Absolutely. Please tell the audience about your podcasts, both of them, and where to find you.
You can find Johnny and I at What's Really Out There. We just actually have just broke 500 subscriptions. So hopefully,
Congrats.
yeah, we're moving on. It finally only took 2 years, but that's pretty good. We a lot of the same stuff that you talk about, and we talk about on DAX Machina, we talk about on What's Really Out There. It's just a little bit shorter. It's usually about 35 to 45 minutes, sometimes a little bit longer than that. But you know, the last show we just did was on the Jersey Devil before we went to LBL, and the next show will probably be the LBL. We got Tyler doing a kind of a slideshow of all the pictures and things like that, putting that together. So this is going to be our first video show where we're actually going to show a video of all the pictures and all that kind of stuff. So that it's kind of a little bit more in depth than what we normally do. So that's why it's taking a little bit longer. But and also you can find me every Wednesday and Saturday night on DAX Machina. DA, myself, Steve, and Doc. And usually we have a topic, and usually we go off the rails about 5 minutes into the show, as a lot of people are in the chat know. You know, topic, we don't need no topic. But you know, we usually have some pretty good discussions, and we just recently hit 78,000 on DAX Machina. So thanks to all y'all in the chat that are subscribed.
Congratulations. Man, that's crazy. I actually at that same exact number too. So we're right there together. I don't know. That is so cool. That is so cool. I love it. We're all, when your friends are along for the ride, we're all here and having fun. And Robbie, I just wanted to thank you and show the audience, like, Robbie, you made this for me. I know you can see my whole room that I'm in now, but Robbie he does custom laser engraving, and it's called Lone Wolf Customs, right? Robbie, yep. I would show more of that, but everybody would see my entire messy room in the background, so because it's a mirror. But it says the Cryptid Huntress on it, and I want to thank you so much for making that for me. I love it. I've got it hanging up. I just don't have it behind me because then everybody could see my messy room right behind the camera if I put it up there. So. But thank you so much, Robbie.
You're welcome.
And thank you so much for being here. Oh my gosh, please tell DA and all the fellas that I said hello next time you talk to everybody. Okay. All right. And come back and see me. And I'm sure I'll see you out in the woods again. I hopefully sooner than next year, but we'll see. Okay. Doing some Bigfooting.
Yeah, we don't need to wait another year this time, but
right. Okay. All right, Robbie. Well, thank you so much for being here. Have a great night, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
All right. See ya. All right, y'all. Oh my gosh, that was so fun. That flew by so fast. You guys, please head on over to After Hours right after we log off over here tonight. Okay. And go see Rob G. And I think he's got BMR, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, on there tonight. So you guys, please come see me over on my channel. I will have a live show this Wednesday, on Thursday, and on Saturday over at the Cryptid Huntress on YouTube. You guys have a wonderful night. Stay safe out there. Lock your doors. And you guys have a great night. I'm sending all my love and light, and I'll see y'all next time. All right. Bye, y'all.